Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with K80Y TV, with Good Morning Oxnard. And we have the wonderful privilege of meeting a city leader, and I almost think a world leader in my mind, but we'll work on that portion of it. And that's Steve Huber. So he just got through with a huge battle, which again, I'm sure the nationwide knows that it was a fight to the finish. And there'll be stories, and we're gonna have to do a movie Steve Huber played by based on a true story. But it was truly a interesting journey, if I can call that.
Yeah, the election's only been a week old and you're making the fish this big already.
It is that big, and don't tell me, oh, it's only this big. I know that trick. But it's just, to me, I'm an outsider. I don't know what's on the insider, but from an outside viewpoint, watching it, it was an impressive I want to say battle, race. And
it's called a campaign for a reason.
Yeah, a campaign. Yeah. And so they spell it with too many letters and things like that. But, I just look at what you did, and I think you know this. You do not have to say, if I'd only done this, I'd done that.
I don't. I could Monday morning quarterback it forever, but there's nothing I think I'd change. The results are what they were, and the voters made the decision. And I've had many conversations with Bert Perello, and he said the same thing, is that there's nothing that he could figure out that you could do different. It's really every vote counts, and that's everybody just says, oh yeah, sure. But seriously, one house or two households would have, had decided this election outcome, and there's nothing.
It's amazing because there's so much to be obviously felt about this situation, but so much to be learned. I mean, to expend energy, and you're not this type, instead of, you're not focusing on that 10 votes, I see you focusing on, okay, there's a reason, and guess what, next steps. And I just got through interviewing George Miller of the Citizens Journal US, and he said that you were there and actually stood up like a true leader that you are, and I would love for you to share some of the things that you shared with the people who attended.
Yeah, so last night was the installation of the newly elected, and it's a very historic moment in Oxnard. So it was a very neat ceremony to watch the folks that had won the election to be installed. And then we went right into the regular meeting. So at open comments, I started out and congratulated the newly elects, and I had called each of them individually and congratulated them, and then I said, so, while I wish I was on the other side of the dais, now I'm going to lend my voice to the other side of the microphone. And then, during the campaign, and look, you run for a reason. You run because you want to make a change, or a positive change in the city. And so I had a list of things that I would love to make sure happen, and so one of those things was what I brought up last night. And the other neat thing was I've had citizens call me and says, hey, I got a problem, can you take care of it? And I said, I didn't win the election.
This is how you're viewed. That's what I'm kind of like.
I said, let me see what I can do, and thank goodness the Oxnard Police Department, I thought it was a code enforcement issue. It was some parking issues in an alley, and within 8 hours, the beat officer of that neighborhood in South Oxnard had taken care of the problem, made that neighborhood safer and stronger, and I said, thank you very much, Senior Officer Steve Funk, for going above and beyond, taking care of this resident's problem. And then the second thing I talked about was, we as residents demand excellence in our government, and one of those things to have an excellent government is that when you have a problem, you recognize the problem, you take care of that problem, and then you do something so that it doesn't happen again. And so I asked the question, we've had our share of problems. We had the DA's investigation, we've had the HUD letter, and we've had the excess leave issue. And so I asked the question, we know we've had the problems, and we know that some of the problems have been taken care of, but what's being done to prevent that in the future? And so I recommended that we need a waste, fraud, and abuse hotline and an internal controls office to investigate those, because that's an anonymous tip line. And so I did some research, and Oxnard didn't have it. So I made that recommendation. County of Ventura has it, and actually citizens have a lot to say, and they've uncovered a lot of fraud or waste or abuse, and it was just a suggestion, so that's where it came from. And it was well received, and I look forward to the feedback. And the city manager's already on it. He's already got folks looking at it and how we do the internal controls. He's on it. So in the open meeting law in California, the 6th member of the council is the public. So my role is to be one of those 6 members of the city council now, because there's a couple other ideas as we go forward, and I'll be paying attention to some of the issues. And so I've learned that it does matter. Your voice at those meetings matter, and so I encourage other residents to come speak. It's not, you only get 3 minutes, number one, so it's not a long time, and it's just not something that makes you super nervous. They're it's very comfortable, and you can get up there and talk about whether you're for an issue or against an issue. I like to make recommendations. If there's an issue, let's have a solution. And so that's what I'm going to do. And again, I wish I was on the other side of the dais, but
you're on this side,
the microphone,
yeah.
And I have 3 minutes to get my point across.
You have more than 3 here.
That's good.
I know the campaign was hard and it was a lot of effort, but I'm sure some way, somehow, there's some things once the emotion settled that you really learn a lot. And yeah. I want to give you the opportunity to say there were a lot of, let's say, college age individuals who didn't either vote or weren't registered. And I would love for you to deliver a message as to, if you were in front of a classroom and you had all these folks here, what would you actually tell them as a leader that you are?
No, thank you. As a leader that I am, and also as an adjunct professor for the Naval War College, I like to take the lessons learned and make sure that folks understand what it takes to run. And if you don't vote, what you're saying, not voting is a vote, right? You're basically saying you like the status quo or whatever. So I have a thought that's in the incubator stage. I'm still trying to figure out, but I'd love to be able to get in front of some of those classes and say, okay, this is what it takes to run, and this is what happens when you don't vote. And in my case, it was, it was a photo finish all the way to the end, and it was, quite frankly, the folks that did take the time to fill out their absentee ballots and provisional ballots that turned an election where I was ahead by 206 to Bert Prello winning by 10 votes. And so that is, every vote, it does matter. And so you can't just say, it doesn't matter. But it's so important that, we have 5 people on our city council, and we elect 2 council members every 2 years, if you will. It's a 4-year term. And the mayor every 2 years. And so you can actually affect the way that the city is going to function, and the future of the city, of how you vote. It's like, congratulations to Bert and Carmen and Tim. They also worked hard. Tim and I were working neighborhoods together as we were knocking on doors, and actually Bert and I were supported by the same union, so we were campaigning in the same precincts together. People probably don't know that.
No.
He was on one street, I was on the other street. We were knocking on doors, and with the union that was supporting us, and Local 585 supported both of us, and we were out there together. And it's interesting. There's a lot of camaraderie that the candidates come up with. It's almost like a family that you get to know each other when you go through 6 or 7 candidate forums, and you go through this interview for 4 months for a job that doesn't pay well. It's a lot of hours, but you do it for a pure reason to hopefully make sure that you can make a difference, and you have an idea how to do that. So there's a lot of things, a lot of lessons there. Talking way too long about this, but I could literally, someday, again, it's like losing the Super Bowl, right? It was so close, and then let's let a couple months go by and then figure out what's going to happen next, and then. Again, I would love that. I really would like to talk to youth groups as well.
Well, we're going to...
Youth development, the PAL, the Boys and Girls Club, CAUSE, El Concilio, all those groups to get those young folks, and the college folks as well, get them interested in getting involved in the city. Because what one of the lessons learned is that in Oxnard, you really need to be involved in the city.
Yeah.
And everyone can have some participation. There's a lot of citizen action groups. You know, now that we have another term starting, a lot of those groups are going to turn over. So it's a great time to go to the city clerk and file your paperwork. And then hopefully you get selected and you can help influence some decisions in the city by being part of a committee or citizen action group or task force. So lots of opportunities out there.
Huge.
I really encourage, you know, the young folks that, young or old, doesn't matter.
Yes.
We have committees across the board for all ages, and to get them involved in the city. And it's just, that's how I got involved, because I was on the planning commission, was selected fortunately, and I got to see how things worked, and I got to know a lot more about the city, and I said, I think I can contribute.
Yes.
And so that's why I ran. That's one of the reasons why I ran. And yeah, it was, you know, there was a maturation of this candidate, and that's why I'd like to, you know, try and help other folks, you know. It costs $50 to be a candidate.
Really? That much?
I don't think people realize that.
Well, you went through 3 pairs of shoes. I
did, but there's the other side of that as well. So, yeah.
You know, I am so encouraged by you speaking like that. And if you ask Bob and I to go to the moon, we might tell you, good luck. But to get you in front of people, come on, challenge me, Steve. Gosh, that's easy.
Well, does Xerox need somebody to come talk to?
Hey, you know what? Don't do that's offline kind of stuff. Shut the camera. No, you know, I just got to say I'm inspired by what you have to say. It'll be easy to get you in front of people. And I got to say, one thing I've been saying is I say we need a culture that all hands on deck. But I say that all pun intended, so to speak, because you're a naval captain. All hands on deck. I don't know if that was just, you know, but
no, a couple times I had to do that when we had supplies coming or there's something going on and we needed everybody. You know, it's a team. It's a team effort that everybody from the captain all the way down to the lowest seaman, we had to get involved in getting those things on board and stowed away and get ready to go on to our next event. So,
well, I didn't put the two together until 15 seconds ago, and I'm being the smartest tool in the box. But you know, that's exactly. It's so funny because we need you, Steve, in that position where all hands are on deck. And you know, it was a privilege to get to know you, and we're going to continue on. And you know, like I said, I will let you mourn for whatever time it is. But come on, we talked about offline. Just he says, yeah, I've heard the story about Ken, you know, Lincoln. You know, he lost 17 billion times. You know, he was dark. You know, he was almost checked. No, that's not Steve. Okay, and so
it's not what happened when you fall.
I'm going to say, I'm sure in the future there will be a coin with your picture on it, but there's not going to be a lot of negativity and darkness. Okay, and that's the prediction I make. But hey, thank you so much for coming on the program. It was we learned a lot. And we're better for knowing for you. So the KEDYT teams got your back, and you just call, you know, do the whistle. And
can I get a coffee mug after doing? I
think I got
5 interviews.
You got 2.
Can I get a coffee mug?
You want a clean one or a dirty one? Anyway,
my coffee in it, so.
We are having way too much fun here. But
next time it will be here.
Yes, you know, it'll be there because I ate the last one.
Well, maybe I'll be advocating for veterans then. I'll be back.
Anyway, here we're having a good time, but this is Peter Godin, Steve Huber, world champion, leader, captain, all the above, and he is going to have the problem people coming up to him and saying, could you help me with the problem? You know, kind of like when I go to Target and I have a red shirt on, excuse me, sir, but different reasons. But this is Peter Godinez with KEDY TV with another version of Good Morning Oxnard. Until next time.